Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So today I got a fun and exciting video for you guys today because as of 24 hours ago, at least as I record this audio, TimeSplitters Rewind was released to the general public. This is basically a remake, reimagining, and reworking of the original TimeSplitters game for a modern audience, and the developers have stated that they're planning on bringing TimeSplitters 2 and 3 into the mix as well. And to say this remake is an absolute massive undertaking would be an understatement. They've taken everything about TimeSplitters that was amazing, revamped it, and brought it over to a modern audience, and they've done that all for the absolute princely sum of $0, because the developers on this one had permission from the rights holders to do this entire project so long as they didn't sell it to anyone. So people basically probably spent thousands of hours remaking this game so that you could play it for free, and that's absolutely something that deserves to be celebrated. Before you get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But to say that this new version of TimeSplitters is amazing, honestly I would be doing it a little bit of an injustice. This thing absolutely from start to finish feels like a game that could have released on Steam yesterday, been called new, and people would have absolutely been in love with it. If you love TimeSplitters, this is just going to be a much better version of the game. And if you hate TimeSplitters, there's going to be nothing here that's going to convince you to actually decide to sit down and play this game again. But if you've never checked it out before, I can't stress enough, the link is in the description below. Go download this thing, set it up, and have an absolute blast with it, because it really does feel like a modern 2025 release in all the best ways possible. And honestly, I always loved TimeSplitters when it came out. The sequel was great as well. The third game may be a little uneven in my opinion on the campaign, because this game was always campaign based as well as multiplayer based. But I'm just kind of bringing you through the campaign right now because I captured this at about 6 in the morning, and honestly, really wasn't finding anybody I knew to play games online with at that point in time, because I do need to make these videos in some strange off hours just to be able to have enough time to do the channel along with my regular life. But this is the type of stuff in retro gaming that I absolutely love, and yes, the original TimeSplitters definitely is a retro game at this point in time. Fans go in and basically rework projects to bring them to a completely new audience. This is the type of thing with my nephew absolutely love playing first-person shooters that I could get him to play today. If I handed my nephew a PlayStation 2 controller and said, go ahead and play TimeSplitters, one of the games in the franchise, he would basically just say it's too old and too janky, and he wouldn't be interested whatsoever. If I put him in front of this game now with a mouse and a keyboard and said, hey, it's a new first-person shooter with kind of a fantasy vibe going on, I can guarantee you he's going to get into it, he's going to play it, and he's going to be stoked about it and tell his friends, because that is the reality of projects like this. Yes, they feel like they're for you and I, the people that played these games original when they were new, but the reality is they're also for an entirely new audience, trying to get them to love the franchise the same way that we do. I think that's one of the best things about projects like this. It doesn't just go out there into the world to make us happy. It expands the overall audience and makes more people realize TimeSplitters was an amazing franchise. And while I do not expect to ever get a new TimeSplitters game at this point in time unless someone announced one and I wasn't aware of it, getting something like this is about as close as you can get to getting a new game in the franchise. And I will say right off the top, the first thing we have to take a look at is the gameplay. If this didn't play like TimeSplitters, if the controls were off, if the mouse aim and everything else didn't feel natural, we wouldn't be having anywhere near as much fun with it as we should. The good thing is mechanically, this thing absolutely just feels like a really nicely developed first-person shooter. Aiming is accurate, the movement is good. If you miss a shot, it's because you didn't aim correctly, not because the game was giving you any sort of issues. Now on the performance front, every once in a while I did get a little bit of a frame hitch, but again, this is early access version 0.3, so that is to be expected that not everything is going to be perfect. And if you want to know just for a baseline, I'm running this on an i9-12900K, and I have it overclocked to about 5.4 GHz with 64 GB of RAM and an NVIDIA 3080 Ti. And even though that is a couple years old at this point in time, this system is no slouch whatsoever, but I'm sure that you could run this on a lot lower spec. But anytime I talk about performance, I'd like to give you guys the spec of my machine, so you kind of can compare it against yours and know what to expect, because I'm running everything here on ultra high. The only thing I have turned off, and I like the fact that it is off by default, is motion blur, because I really don't like that in my games. But leave me a comment down below and you tell me, these remastered graphics, these new textures, all of this work, how do you feel about them? In my opinion, I feel like it captures all of the charm and all of the intention of TimeSplitters while also making it feel like a more modern release, outside of the fact that the geometry is basically the same, and that's something I would want to see kept. But a soundtrack sample one time, go ahead and listen, and I'll be right back. I mean, the sound in TimeSplitters Rewind absolutely sounds exactly like the soundtrack should. All of the sound effects are there, and everything else is working as far as the audio is concerned. But the reality of the situation is here. The only things that have been changed are those quality of life improvements to make the game play better, to run faster, and to look prettier. All of the level design and layout is going to be what you'd expect out of TimeSplitters, because they are not remaking the levels here in the way that they're adding new things or kind of trying to surprise you too much. So if you remember this game from start to finish, if you speedrun it, you should be able to do basically the same thing here as you would do there, because all of the structure of the levels is going to adhere to what they originally were. And I really love that from the overall remake kind of ethos and aesthetic. You improve the things that need improvement, but you don't try to recreate the things that were successes back in the day. Because when TimeSplitters launched, absolutely everyone fell in love with this. It reviewed well, and there really isn't any reason to quote-unquote try to improve the game in the gameplay or otherwise level layout department. But you'll see here with this nice little flickering light there, the lighting engine is improved, and you are going to get these really nice shadows. It just kind of brings the world of TimeSplitters to life a little bit more, and again, this is going to allow you to basically do whatever you want. You can run this thing at ultra wide. I do have ultra wide monitors, but I captured it 16:9 for the video because that works way better on YouTube. You can go ahead and do some online fun. You can kind of have whatever TimeSplitters experience you want. And I know I mentioned that every once in a while I get like a one frame hitch, but otherwise in my entire experience with this, in capturing it and playing around with it, it has not crashed once. It hasn't had any issues that would be considered game breaking in any way, shape, or form. And it is one of those things, that one frame hitch could be OBS just being annoying in the background, or it could be any other underlying Windows OS function that just basically decided to eat a little bit too much CPU cycle at that moment in time. Because that is the reality of PC gaming compared to console gaming. Sometimes the actual operating system will just do something incredibly stupid and tank your performance for like half a second or so. And honestly, some of the physics here are a little bit weird, but that is kind of part and parcel of this generation of first-person shooter. I kind of like the fact that bodies will just float up into the air when you shoot them. And the weapon selection here, every bit as good, obviously, as the original, because TimeSplitters always felt kind of like the evolution of something like Perfect Dark, as well as Goldeneye in a more modern era. And here today, I'm having every bit as much fun as I did with this game last time I played it, and in a lot of ways more so. And that's just basically because I don't have to take my PlayStation 2 and hook it up to my PVM, find my copy of the game and controller, and play on that controller. I can just sit down at my computer, double-click the executable, use mouse and keyboard to my heart's content. But it does give you a metric crap ton of options, so you can play with a controller if you wanted to as well. I'm not sure why anyone would pick controller over something like mouse and keyboard. And if you're wondering, this thing does work on the Steam Deck, and that's where the controller does function really well. But honestly, using the right trackpad for aiming, 10 out of 10 on deck, and definitely something that is going to be a lot of fun. And that, again, really is the versatility of something like this new version of TimeSplitters. You want to play it on an overpowered gaming PC? You can totally do that. You want to load it up on Steam Deck and take it on the go? You can do that as well. You can play this thing basically on any operating system, on any spec that isn't a potato, and have an absolute blast. We're going to do one more soundtrack sample because, again, the music is great, and it sounds incredible coming out of Rewind, so 45 seconds, and I'll be right back with a little bit more. I feel like they redid some of the sound effects here as well for TimeSplitters. They sound familiar, but they have a little bit more punch, a little bit more bass, and really do give you a good sense of audio impact when you're actually shooting off those firearms and hitting the enemies. And obviously, this TimeSplitters, after all, every single level is going to have its own theme and its own air, and I really appreciated how that actually got mixed up as far as the level structure is concerned. You never had to spend too much time in one area. You could always just kind of go into the next setting, and there even is a counter for the best speed run of each level. So this game game has a ton of speedrun potential, and I'm sure you're going to see Rewind showing up on some new leaderboards coming up soon, because honestly, some levels you can take all the time in the world on if you want, other levels you can basically sprint to the item you need and get back to the portal very quickly. But TimeSplitters Rewind is straight up a 10 out of 10. I really can't find anything to critique about this game, and again, it is not finalized whatsoever. And I can't wait to see the second and third games get brought into this package as well. I'm sure that's definitely going to take some time, might take years in fact, but if you want to play the original TimeSplitters in a very modern environment, having as much fun as you did back in the day with all of this quality of life improvements, you can't go wrong with downloading this because again, it is absolutely free. The developer has got the rights to be able to release this for free, so it's something, even though it is the full game download, I can just pop the website in the description down below, which I absolutely did for you. And if you played this or you played TimeSplitters back in the day, leave me your thoughts down below. But we're done. I'm going to keep shooting. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye-bye.